Okay, the second television event that I watched tonight, or Rebels didn't really premiere on television, but I digress. The point is, I watched The Flash, the new CW TV series by the creative team of Arrow, plus Jeff Johns, comic guru Jeff Johns. So, so yeah, the thing I have with the Flash, the issue I had with it is well, actually a few things, but on a certain level, I thought, well, it was kind of like Gotham. Was it really going to have any sense of identity? And Gotham seems to be working on that. But the Flash, I think, had a much bigger danger of not really having its own identity because again, it's by the same creative team as Arrow. It's on the same network as Arrow. It's on one night of the week before Arrow. So, and it even takes place in the same universe. So I think there was this potential danger of is this show really going to be able to stand on its own? I mean, they're apparently going to have crossovers between the two shows. They're trying to build this fictional TV universe. So again, I questioned the capability of this creative team with doing a superpowered character because everything on Arrow that we've seen up to this point, no matter, has existed in some form of, I don't want to say reality, but some form of hyper reality. I mean, they've come up with some semi-worldly explanation for everything we've seen up to this point. With the Flash, no, it's completely out the window. The Flash and his rogues gallery are a bunch of metahumans with I'm not even going to mince words, superpowers. Whereas the Green Arrow, he's kind of like Batman, or at least he is in his moveset because he doesn't have any superpowers. He has gadgets. He has martial arts skills, but that's about it. So. So yeah, with the Flash, I was kind of worried for a number of reasons, but I am happy to say that the show itself, or at least the pilot, is very good. It is very good because not only does it fix some of the issues in execution that I had with some of the stuff that we saw in the crossovers, or at least the introductory episodes from Arrow, such as him getting struck by lightning. I felt that was handled in a manner that seemed a little too rushed. Not only did they go back and redo those scenes, but also they gave context to everything we had seen up to this point on Arrow in regards to the Flash. So they told us about Barry Allen in a coma, but they actually begin the pilot before he actually goes to Starling City, and then it cuts to afterward. And shortly after that, he gets struck by the lightning bolt caused by the particle accelerator. So yeah, like I said, I like the fact that they give context to a lot of these events that I actually think strengthen the overall experience. Now, this brings me to something else. Do you have to have seen Arrow to know what's going on? Since those two episodes of Arrow season 2 plus the one where it took place in Star Labs, do you have to have seen those in order to know what's going on the Flash, or to be able to enjoy the Flash? No, because not only does the narrative do a good job of catching you up, but also, I mean, in its very nature, the Flash is a pretty different show than Arrow. I mean, obviously, there are some similarities in how it's shot and in how it's acted, and even some of how it's filmed, but for the most part, it does have a much lighter tone than Arrow for the most part. Redundant, but yeah. Then Barry Allen is basically contacted by the guys over at Star Labs because Tom Cavanaugh, Danielle Panabaker, and I don't know the actor's name, so I'm just going to say Cisco. Pardon me. They basically contact him after he wakes up from his 9-month coma, and they basically say, we need to run some tests, and Flash, or Barry Allen, reacts basically the same way as Tobey Maguire did in the first Spider-Man movie, where he's like, woohoo, this is awesome! He discovers that he can run fast, not just fast, just at the speed of light. Everything else just seems so slow to him. And not only that, his cells have this heightened regeneration. So not only does he have increased muscle mass, I mean, he's like, the lightning bolt gave me abs, but also he can regenerate pretty quickly. So when he breaks his arm or dislocates his arm, whatever, I mean, he suffers an injury, it heals within 3 hours. So there's that. And in addition, he discovers that there are all these other people that are potentially affected by the particle explosion, the particle accelerator explosion. Say that 3 times fast. And these have been dubbed metahumans by the guys over at Star Labs. So he basically makes it his mission to go after these metahumans to prevent them from abusing their powers and hurting people. So that's the premise of the show. And in a sense, it's kind of like season 1 of Arrow, how there was this definite goal, this list of people that the hero has to go after. You know, in season 1 of Arrow, he had the list of guys who were quote unquote failing this city. But let's start with the good stuff, because there's actually very few. There's not much in the way of bad in this pilot. First of all, Grant Gustin, he kills it as Barry Allen. I mean, when I first saw him in Arrow, I have to admit, I said, doesn't he look a little young? I mean, he has this baby face thing going. I mean, people don't normally think of this really young looking guy when thinking of Barry Allen. I'm not saying Barry Allen is some kind of senior citizen, but yeah, Grant Gustin just seemed a little too young to me. But oh my God, he really comes into his own with the Flash. I mean, I think he definitely has the acting chops to carry this series, because he is so good in this episode. He conveys the goofy, dorky nature of Barry Allen that he displayed on Arrow, but he balances that with some real dramatic scenes where he channels some real heartfelt emotion. So yeah, I think he can carry this series. I mean, I don't know if he got older or got a little older. Obviously, he got a little older, but I don't know what it is. He seems to have a little bit more presence than he did when he was on Arrow. I don't know what it was. Or maybe it's the fact that he's a little more comfortable in the role by now. Maybe it's the different world. Maybe he's more at home in this central city that they've created, but I don't know. But as for the other characters, there's Detective Joe West, who basically is this became sort of a surrogate father figure for Barry after his mother was killed by, I'm just going to say it, Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom. He basically took Barry in, and Barry has been basically raised alongside Joe West's daughter Iris, and they've basically grown up together. Barry has romantic feelings. She apparently doesn't, blah, blah, blah. So the guy who plays Joe West, and I believe the girl's name is Candace Patton. If I'm getting that wrong, please correct me. But the chick who plays Iris, they're both very good, although Iris doesn't really have much of a personality yet. She seems kind of bland, at least in comparison to everyone else. So they're very good. I definitely bought the guy who played Joe West. I think his name's Jesse something. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but he seems to have this really natural paternal presence that makes him believable in the role, while at the same time you can believe that he's a cop. So I guess that's something. But also the Star Labs guys, Tom Cavanaugh, Danielle Panabaker, and Cisco. They're all very good. At first, I was kind of like, casting Danielle Panabaker as a scientist, I don't know. She seems a little too model-ish. But again, she really comes into the role. I mean, she's obviously attractive, and when she first showed up, I was like, okay, just roll in the Victoria's Secret photo shoot. Granted, maybe I underestimated her as an actress or something, but she's also very believable as the scientist, Caitlin Snow, who I don't know if I'm spoiling anything for comic book fans, or I'm definitely not spoiling anything for comic book fans, but she eventually becomes Killer Frost, so I don't know if she has some delayed effects to the particle accelerator explosion. I don't know, but Tom Cavanaugh is very good as Harrison Wells, I believe the guy's name was. He basically created the particle accelerator. He's lost everything. He sees Barry as his salvation, a way to right his wrongs, or at least so it seems. It's a little too early to have any definitive idea of where everyone's loyalties lie at this point. But let's see what else. I thought the story was pretty well told. Again, it's a much lighter tone than Arrow, and the scenes themselves, I thought, are paced very well. I mean, you would think that it might be a little rushed. Maybe they would be at some sort of maybe they would be under some sort of pressure by the studio to okay, make him the Flash right now. But yeah, I thought the scenes were paced very well. They didn't drag. They went on for just long enough, I thought. While at the same time, the whole show as the whole show or the pilot as a whole had this relatively brisk pace. They didn't really drag any of the scenes out for too long, and the story moved along at a decent pace, which I thought suited the powers of the character. As for the effects, I'm not going to complain that this show does not have Hollywood type effects, and given the television budget, I actually thought a lot of the effects were pretty solid. I mean, there were only one or two that really stuck out as being, okay, this is obviously TV. But the stuff with the Weather Wizard I thought looked really good. And that is one issue with the show that I will discuss. The Weather Wizard didn't really have much of a personality, which I understand with everything else that they were focusing on in this pilot. I understand something had to go, and unfortunately that was giving proper personality to the Weather Wizard. I mean, for the most part, he was just this generic jerk. Hopefully we'll get some supervillains with more depth. Let's see, what else? I know a lot of hardcore fans, not only of the character but also comic book TV shows in general, are probably marking out by at the fact that John Wesley Shipp plays Barry Allen's dad. John Wesley Shipp, if you don't know, played the Flash in the '90s Flash TV series, which didn't do too well when it came out, but has since gained kind of a following. So some people might see that as a little bit too on the nose, but I, for one, see it as appropriate. So yeah, what else? The acting's good, the pacing's good. I like the characters. They really seem to be this sense of initial confidence that I think was actually somewhat absent from Arrow. Confidence in the actors, I mean, and a real sense of comfortability, because these characters already seem pretty well acquainted with each other. And when I first saw Arrow, whenever I saw Oliver and Dig interact for the first few episodes, I thought, okay, it's kind of, they're acting right now. It's acting friendship. I don't think the connection is as strong or was as strong as it became in later seasons or later episodes when they became more comfortable with each other. Actually, the same can be said for the interactions with all the characters really on Arrow. But with the Flash, no, it's right away. Right away, they have all these established connections, and they're done in a very believable way. So yeah, the Flash really surprised me in a lot of ways. Yeah, there were weaknesses like the villain, and I actually think they gave away a bit too much when it came to the Reverse Flash or Professor Zoom and who his identity was. I actually think they gave a little bit too much away. But for the most part, yeah, I thought it was well written. I thought it was well acted, paced very well. And one thing that I was going to have a problem with, and this kind of goes back to the show developing its own identity, was the inevitable cameo by Oliver Queen. Oliver Queen has a cameo as the Green Arrow, but honestly, I thought that was implemented really well. I mean, he showed up in the story just when Barry needed him, or Barry went to Starling City just when he needed anyone who he could relate to. I mean, some larger-than-life hero that if anyone could understand what Barry was going through, it was Oliver. I mean, despite the fact that Oliver doesn't have any powers, I mean, Oliver has established himself as this hero in Starling City at this point. So yeah, it actually made narrative and character sense that Barry would go to Oliver, and I actually thought that was a really cool moment between the two. Now, this doesn't really have anything to do with the quality of this show in particular, but I am kind of trepidatious about how this establishment of superpowers and metahumans is going to affect the quality of Arrow's show, and if it's going to affect the grittier or the somewhat grittier tone that show is going for. Obviously, that show can have some very lighthearted moments, but overall, it is a bit of a darker show than the Flash. So I don't know if it's going to affect the believability of Arrow to any extent. I don't know, but yeah, the Flash, honestly, one of Fall's biggest surprises. And the fact that they took a risk with a character like the Flash, they didn't go for a surefire hit like, Batman or Superman. The fact that they took risk with the Green Arrow. The Green Arrow was by no means a household name, when it came to comic book superheroes. Obviously, he's more popular now that the Arrow show has come around, but now they've done The Flash, who I would argue is actually a bit more popular than Green Arrow, but The Flash, these B-list DC comic superheroes, they're making entire shows about them, and they're well written, and they're overall well done. So, yeah, maybe this says something for the future of comic book shows. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm just speculating. I don't know. You be the judge.